Sairam. You're listening to Sai SOUL 100, a weekly podcast series with soul, or stories of unconditional love, shared by devotees of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba in celebration of his 100th birthday. We invite you to listen in on these motivational stories of his constant loving presence in devotees' lives, offered at his lotus feet by the Sri Satya Sai International Organization USA Mid-Atlantic region. Welcome to Sai SOUL 100.
Sairam, dear listeners, welcome to Sai SOUL 100. Our guest today is Brother Prasad Kalluri, who is joining us from Chalfont, Pennsylvania. He'll be sharing his stories of how he witnessed and experienced Swami's unconditional love. Sairam, Brother Prasad, thank you for joining us.
Sairam, Sister Piraba.
Please share your story.
Sure. So, the way Swami was introduced to us in our family was way back in the 60s. My grandfather and grandmother from my mother's side were ardent devotees of Swami. But then, because of them, my parents, they came into Swami's fold. And even before my birth, my father was a volunteer in a metro city called Pune, which is in the Indian state of Maharashtra. And he was a member of the Andhra Association, where Swami was supposed to address the gathering. And my father was standing at the gate, and Swami got down the car. He signaled to my father. He asked him to, come near him. My father went to Swami. Swami created vibhuti and applied it on my forehead of my father. And he said, "Please come to my residence tomorrow." Unfortunately, my father could not reach the residence because it was almost a 3-hour-long journey. And Swami left for Puttaparthi. So that was the first meeting that my father had with Swami. And then my father was married. I was born. My sister was born. And, after we grew up a little, we used to have bhajans in our family on a weekly basis. And, slowly Swami was introduced into our family. Now, cutting short, I joined Swami's college in the 80s, to be precise, 86, for my master's course in physics. And the very first experience that I had, I share with this for everybody. I want to just share it with you also. So I was sitting in the library, and there was this phone call from Parthi that Swami is coming to Vrindavan. I was a student in Vrindavan, Bangalore. And I didn't know the protocol because I was a new student. We had just joined. And Swami was coming to Vrindavan, after a couple of years. He did not come to Vrindavan for 2 years. In fact, our batch was lucky because as soon as we joined, Swami came to Vrindavan. So the phone call came that Swami was coming to Vrindavan. All the students were excited. They all ran towards the mandir, except me. I was just sitting in the library, reading some books, and completely unaware of the impact that, students have when Swami comes. So the librarian, he came near me and said, "Prasad, you're not going?" I said, "Swami, sir, where?" He said, "To the mandir. Swami is coming." I said, "Oh my God." And I just got up and ran. And that was a 100-meter dash. It was a 100-meter dash. I reached the hostel. I went to my room. I changed. I came to the mandir. We all sat, either side. And I don't know, people who might have gone to Vrindavan, they know that we have a marble. It's like a carpet. So we sit on either side. And, as soon as we sat, Swami's car came inside the ashram. And Swami's car pulled in, and Swami got down the car. And you won't believe, he was as fresh as a rose flower. After a 3-hour journey, we all have castor oil faces, but Swami's face was like a fresh rose. And that was my first darshan of Swami. And I was seeing Swami from very close quarters. And then he came, he cajoled a few people. He comforted a few of them, said, "Hey, you're putting on weight. You must cut down." So, and then, he went upstairs, he had his arati, he retired into his chambers. So that was my first darshan of Swami, from close quarters. And I still cherish that in my memory. And after that, just to tell you about the hostel discipline that we had. And Swami pays a lot of importance to discipline. So this was like, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning for Suprabhatam, going after Suprabhatam, going for jogging, coming back and then having our breakfast, then have your quick shower, go to college. At 10 o'clock, we used to have our classes with a short prayer before that. And then 10 to 1, we had our college. And then 1 o'clock, we used to come back for lunch. 1 to 2, we had lunch. Then 2 to 4, we had our college again. Then 4 to 6 were compulsory games. So this was the regimen and the discipline that Swami had inculcated in all of us. Then 6 to 7, we had in the evening, 6 to 7, we had bhajans. Then 7 to 9, we had compulsory studies with a dinner, in between. And 10 o'clock, lights off. Practically lights off. Okay, if you have exams, then there were some special rooms that were provided to students for studies. So that was the kind of discipline that Swami had inculcated in all of us. And that I'm not saying I'm following that strictly now, but I'm trying to follow it because, you have your family pressures and other things, but I'm trying to follow that. Now, one of the Namavalis, I think you might have heard, it says, Adbhuta Charya Yanam. Swami is the one who performs miracles, who does leelas. So these are a couple of examples, a couple of incidents that I had witnessed in Swami's college as a student. And they reveal Swami's omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience. So starting with the first one, omniscience, it relates to me. So we all used to gather inside the mandir every evening for a couple of hours. We used to sit with Swami. Swami used to deliver his discourse, or Swami used to give an informal chat. He used to chat with all of us informally. So on one of those occasions, I had a chemistry exam that day. I had completed my chemistry exam, and we were all sitting inside the mandir. Now, I had left 2 questions, which only I knew, nobody else knew. So Swami, casually, he looked at me and he said, hey, what exam did you have today? I said, Swami, I had chemistry exam. I said, oh, chemistry exam. How did you write? Swami said. I said, Swami, I wrote well. I mean, I was not completely, aware of Swami's intentions that time. I said, Swami, I had done it well. Swami said, no, you did not do well. You had left 2 questions. He gave me that. He said 2 questions. And indeed, I had left 2 questions. So that was my first experience with Swami, where Swami revealed his omniscience to me. And it still sits in my memory even to this day. The other incident that I want to tell you is once Swami had gone to Bangalore, and we were all sitting, waiting for Swami to come back from Bangalore. We were all sitting on the marble. And then at 7 in the evening or 8 in the evening, Swami came back. Now, when Swami was away, there were a couple of these students that had a fight among each other. Because they had some difference of opinions, they had a fight. And the fight almost escalated to a point where they were almost coming to blows. So that bad, it had become so bad. And then, of course, the lecturers, intervened and they just separated them. But then Swami came. As soon as Swami got down the car, he went straight to these students. He said, hey, I was watching you guys were fighting. He pointed his fingers, he said, you are fighting. And I was standing right there. And I could see what Swami was telling me. He said, you are all like brothers. Okay. And Swami gave us a very good lesson. He said, all are one, be alike to everyone. And that principle still, it still sits in my mind even to this day. All are one, be alike to everyone. So that was another incident of omniscience that, that I saw that day. Now, omnipotence. I mean, we all say Swami is omni, he can do anything. He's all powerful. Now, this happened in 1988 on the Dashara day. Swami was about to start the Dashara discourse, and there was this gentleman sitting on the chair there was a dais, Swami's dais, stage. He was sitting right underneath the stage, on the chairs where the senior devotees sit. He was a big army officer, and he was the director of IIT Kanpur, Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. And he suddenly collapsed on the chair. And I was sitting right there. I could see what was happening. There were two doctors sitting behind this gentleman. They came and tried to kind of give him some CPR, or something to revive him. They could not, because he was just going down his chair, and falling flat. Now, Swami saw this commotion. He stopped his discourse. He came right to where this gentleman was sitting with his fist closed. Swami's fist was closed. God knows what was there in that fist. He came. He made the devotee sit with Swami's hand underneath his head. He made the devotee to sit, and then he gave a jab with the closed fist on his head. And this devotee goes, so he was totally in an unconscious state or coma. He was gone. There was no pulse. He was gone. He was turning blue. And Swami comes and gives this jab, and he goes like, and I was sitting right there. Now, this gentleman, he narrated his experience in Vrindavan when I was a student. And this is what he said. He said when he was going down in the chair, he could see a big eagle floating, on top of him. A big eagle. And the eagle had taken him to a conference room somewhere, and where Swami told the chairman in that conference hall that this gentleman had some more work for him to do. So please allow him to go back. And that's when Swami came and gave him the jab. And he had come to his senses, and he has come to full consciousness. So that was another experience of Swami's all potency, all powerful. Swami can do anything. The other experience that I want to, narrate about the omnipotence of Swami is, one day, Swami was in Vrindavan. We were all in the hostel. Swami had retired to his chambers. It was afternoon around 12 o'clock. The sun was scorching. It was very hot. And suddenly, we saw Swami coming down the stairs. Because there was commotion, people were rushing to the mandir. Swami was coming down. And we didn't know why. So we all rushed. We all waited at the gate because the volunteers were not allowing us to go inside. And what we saw that day, what I saw, I was really surprised and like awe. This is what happened. There was a deer enclosure in Vrindavan. I think people who know Vrindavan well, they know that there is a deer enclosure where Swami used to have a lot of deers. One of the deers, it had, obviously it was sick or something, we don't know. It looked at Swami because Swami went, Swami wanted the deer enclosure to be open. And as soon as the enclosure was opened, the deer came, looked at Swami, and fell at Swami's feet. And I was a witness to this. So all these experiences that I'm telling you, I was a witness to them.
Fell as in it passed on?
It just passed on. And that evening, Swami told us about the deer. He said the deer was a pious soul in its previous birth. And it had attained that liberation on that day. And I'm like, oh my God, Swami, I'm living with God. I'm living with God. So that was another experience. And Swami's omnipresence, this is very interesting. What had happened was, I was sitting, I was preparing for my exams in Vrindavan, and Swami was not in Vrindavan, he was in Parthi. And then I was struggling to prepare for this test because it was tough, and I was really working hard to get all the concepts straightened out. But for some reason I was not. So I was just praying, Swami, help me. And at that time, I felt Swami's presence in the form of jasmine. And many of you who know that, Swami makes his presence felt through jasmine, that scent that comes, when Swami comes near you, the jasmine perfume. And that's how, and the jasmine perfume was very strong. I went and saw whether there were any perfumes there. There were no perfumes. There were only trees, hush of the trees, and nothing. And this jasmine perfume was so strong that I really felt Swami's presence there. And there are other experience, about omnipresence. I had my house renovated in Delhi in 2015 after my father passed away. And the kind of work that I had to be done, because the house was in a very dilapidated condition. The flat was very, it was almost crumbling, and I had to get it repaired. So I was looking for contractors, building contractors who would do the job. And they were all quoting me very high prices, $20,000, $25,000, which was really very exorbitant, and I could in no way pay that price. So I just sent a prayer, silent prayer to Swami. Swami, help me, because I won't be able to do this otherwise. And with that limited time that I had to stay, because I had to come back, so I said, Swami, help me. At that time, you won't believe, my father's friend, he was my father's friend, a financial consultant. He calls me and he says, I heard that you're looking for building contractors. I have this contractor with me, and I want you to talk to him and see if he can get your work done. I said, okay, uncle, please, if you can. So he gives me his number. I call the contractor, and the contractor agrees to come on such and such a day. He comes to my house. We all sit, and we are, conversing about the way the things are going to go. So he sees that the life-size picture of Swami in my house, because I have a life-size picture of Swami in my house. And then he says, sir, can I ask you a question? I said, yes, sure. He said, do you believe in this person? I said, yeah. He's my God. He's my master. That's what I said. He said, oh, even I believe him. I have a puja room in my house. So he does my work in half of the price what they were quoting. And that's how Swami comes to help you in the time of distress. So these are some of the incidents that really touched me, in my life. That to this day I cherish them. So I wanted to tell you about the different lessons that I learned. The number one, which Swami says, is humility. You have to be humble, Swami says. And that's a kind of life that we had in Swami's college, simple living and high thinking. And I'll tell you one simple incident, example to corroborate my, thing, humility. There was this gentleman who was a senior officer in the Indian Army. Very, very senior officer. I mean, he was the field marshal, if you know what it is. He was the field marshal. That's the highest rank that anyone could get in the Indian Army. He used to come for Swami's darshan. And he was at a very advanced stage of his life, because he was almost like 90. And what he used to do is, he used to park his car right outside the mandir, and from there, the people used to escort him in a wheelchair inside the mandir, where we all used to sit on the marble, on the marble, and waiting for Swami's darshan. Now, I was sitting right there, and Swami comes, and this gentleman is trying to bend, and he could not because of his age. Guess what? Swami lifts his leg. Swami lifts his leg for him to touch his feet. And I'm like, Swami, what more can we see of you? This is the highest level of humility that I saw there. Swami is lifting his leg and giving him to touch his feet. So that's the lesson that I learned in humility. So be humble, Swami says, be humble. It's not going to cost you anything, but definitely you will see what are the advantages of being humble. The other thing I want to share is compassion and seva. I could see Swami's eyes oozing compassion, and I've seen it and have experienced it myself. And the seva that he does is humongous. Like Swami said, all are one be alike to everyone. And I remember one small incident that happened. This woman was with a small child in her hand, in her lap, and the child was crying. And Swami asked someone to go and get a glass of milk for that child. So someone rushed and he got the glass filled with milk. And the moment he got the glass of milk, Swami said, "Give the glass to me first." So the person handed that glass to Swami. And when Swami, caught hold of the glass, he said, "It's hot. Can you imagine what will happen if the child would have drunk this milk?" And the guest, Swami said, "Whenever you do something, do it perfect." So if the child would have drank this milk, it would have really, burnt his or her tongue. So Swami almost, he reprimanded him that day, and he said, "Never ever do that." So what he does, he asks for another glass, and Swami cools that milk, by pouring it, a couple of times here and there, and then offers that milk to the mother. And you see the seva that Swami, the Swami, and he does all this to show us, how seva has to be done. The third thing I want to touch base upon is cleanliness. How clean Swami is, and he says, "Deha Shubhrata." He says it's something primary to every human being. Deha Shubhrata. And what does that mean is internal and external cleanliness, Swami says. Internal, you have to be clean. You have to keep your feelings pure. You have to keep your thoughts pure. Okay, and then it will automatically come into the actions. When your thoughts are pure, obviously it will deliver good actions. And then Swami says, externally, you must look, you must be lookable, Swami says. And he's the best example. The fourth thing is, he's the best host and guest. So whenever Swami gives you, whenever he hosts any, function or any family, occasion, he is the best host. I have attended a couple of weddings in Vrindavan, where, the bride's family and the groom's family, how Swami hosted them. And the way he treats them, lavish lunches, breakfast and dinners. And similarly, Swami does the guest part of it. And how Swami wants you to be disciplined at that place. He doesn't want you to look here and there. So he says, "No, your eyes have to be focused on me only, on me alone." Okay. And then how he treats all of us there, and then the way the food is served. So he's the best host and guest, So this is what I've learned there. And of course, Swami says, all this integral education that you have received here is to make you physically strong, emotionally stable, intellectually sharp, and spiritually aware. So what that means is the kind of sport that we had, it really had made us strong, because every evening we used to go for sports. There was no excuse. If you're not well, you had to get a letter from the doctor that you're not well. Otherwise, you had to go to the sport, And of course, some of us, we did not, but that was not an excuse. Swami used to say, you have to have a strong body and strong mind. And for that, you need to. So physically strong, emotionally stable. So don't be emotionally weak. Swami says Swami tells all of us, don't be emotionally weak, because that will debilitate you. So emotionally stable, and then intellectually sharp. Now, the programs that we had academically or whatever, they were all beyond. So the best education that we had, quality education, and the level of teachers and professors that we had, were dedicated, who were not after money. They were after our welfare, and they wanted to make sure that we received, what we came for. And then spiritually aware. And all discourses that Swami has been giving us day in and day out, the two things that I cherish: love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. Swami says that's the crux of all his discourses that he has been delivering all these 70 or 80 years. Help ever and hurt never. Okay, so I think this is what I have learned, and I pray to Swami that Swami give me the strength to love you more and more, so that our love goes, strong, and we realize what you are, so that we become what you are.
Sairam, Brother Prasad, such a heartwarming set of stories to listen to, which helps us to understand Swami's omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, and the fact that you were able to witness and experience Swami's way of life as an example for us to imbibe on. And, I just love the story of Swami's humility, compassion, and as well as, of course, his cleanliness, as well as the best host, but also teaching us how to be good guests. So many beautiful messages here, and very, very grateful to listen to your story of you having the opportunity to live with God and witnessing God, so that we ourselves can recognize the qualities that we need to work on to become who He wants us to be.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Brother Prasad, for being here. Sairam, dear listeners, thank you for listening to Sai Soul 100. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.